Philadelphia has it.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to DSM pregame live, streaming to you guys live exclusively on DSM Media's YouTube channel. Head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. You can find the link tree in our bio, and it'll take you to every social media platform we are available on. But if you guys want to be interactive throughout tonight's show, you have to be with us here on the YouTube channel. I am one half of your host tonight, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter @DylanJD98. To my right, my faithful co-host here on Sixers pregame, Scotty. Find him @Scotty Drowned on Twitter. This is Sixers Hawks. One of two here, Scotty. They're in Atlanta tonight. Then they come back home to the Wells Fargo Center to take on the Hawks again on Saturday night. How are you? You were in Miami last week, but you got back just in time for the Sixers to come away with a humongous win against the Phoenix Suns on Monday night.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. That was a very momentous type of win on Monday night. I was happy to come home to that and be able to enjoy some Sixers dubs, especially against a good team, against like the Phoenix Suns. That is, that's a solid team. Obviously, Chris Paul goes out in that game, but nonetheless, Sixers really started with the right energy in that game. And we talked about that over the weekend. Joel Embiid, kind of his feelings on the Phillies season ending. Obviously, the Eagles are doing well, but the Union, obviously, their season ending. All eyes on the Sixers now, right? When the Eagles aren't playing if they're not playing on Sunday, all eyes on the Sixers during the week. And it seems like they were ready for that, right? It seems like that's what they wanted. That's what they've been waiting for. Just hoping it carries over. Let's get back to 500 and then get above and keep this thing moving. But feeling good nonetheless going into this game tonight. We'll see how it goes, man.
Yeah, man. As Joel Embiid jokingly commented after the game, their season started tonight. It was nice to start off the year with a win and go 1-0. But no, it was a big win. So before we get into this Hawks game on the road tonight, we're going to get into matchups, key to victories, our best bet of the night, our goal of the game, as we do here on Sixers pregame live as always, and then we'll wrap up with our predictions. But before we get through all that, I want to start with this Suns win because this was a big win, as you said, kind of a momentum shift here in Philly. They were struggling at home to start the year. Obviously, no James Harden. They're going to be missing him for about a month. I'm going to project that it goes over that month timeline that they gave. And then obviously Joel Embiid's first game back since dealing with that non-COVID related illness that he had. But this win was important for this reason to me. It was the first time I watched the Sixers play a full 48 minutes. It was the first time I watched them come out with energy and have a plan offensively and have a plan defensively and execute from the opening tip to when the game was over. And once they got that lead in the first quarter, they never gave it back to Phoenix. Obviously, Chris Paul goes down with an injury, but that's neither here nor there when you're missing James Harden and Tyrese Maxey was almost irrelevant in this one. And we can get into all that, what they did. But basically, Phoenix went on their runs, and it would go from 17-8 and 16-9. And the Sixers never took their foot off the gas. And George Niang came up huge, 21 points, 7 of 10 from 3. Joel Embiid, 33 points in his first game back. Anthony Melton on the defensive side of the ball was fantastic. But they were great on Monday night, man. So talk to me kind of a little bit about what you saw.
Yeah, what I saw, it was defense, man. It was intensity. It was energy, stuff that we've been harping on. We've been begging for all season from these guys, specifically Joel Embiid. Obviously, he did it on the offensive end, 33 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists.
But he was
right?
Great defensively.
Covered all the bases, but defensively, that's where he can really make his mark. That's what I was harping on in the offseason, man. Embiid can go out here and drop 25, 30 each and every night. That is fine and dandy. But when he imposes his will on the defensive end, that's when the Sixers are at their best. And I said this to you earlier. DeAnthony Melton is a great addition on the perimeter. I mean, my God, he pressures the ball. He gets a ton of steals, hands in the deflection lanes, hand in the passing lanes, I should say, deflections constantly. But Embiid is that anchor. If he is not ready to go, man, this defense falls apart. You can have 1-2 good perimeter defenders. It means nothing if you have nobody backing them up behind them. And it makes a ton of difference when Embiid plays with that energy. I just want to see it all the time. That's what the great players do, my man. But it's a step in the right direction. That's what I will say. But that's what I saw. Defense, intensity.
It's ironic because energy and defense are one and the same, Scotty. All it is effort at this level. All it takes is effort to just be relevant on the defensive side of the ball. They held the Phoenix Suns, Scotty, the best team in the Western Conference, to 88 points. Devin Booker didn't score a single point in the fourth quarter. Phoenix only scored 18 points in the entire fourth quarter. Sixers won the final quarter by 7. So when Joel comes out and sets the tone early on as that rim protector, as that defensive anchor, throwing one off the backboard, or even picking up an early foul, but letting you know you're not coming in here possession after possession, that helps out everything else. The rotations defensively are more crisp. You guys don't have to press out the 3-point line and be fearful of getting beat to the rim like they did with Porzingis and Washington a couple games ago. So him just bringing that energy and that effort defensively, that's going to translate to the offense. And guess what it did, Scotty? Transition offense. The Sixers were up 14-2 in transition points in the first half. When does that ever happen? But what side of the floor did that start on? It started on the defensive side. That was my biggest takeaway. And we could talk about Joel Embiid, but like you said, you pointed out the Anthony Melton, and shout out to him as well, man. He hasn't gotten it going offensively yet. He has not shot incredibly well from 3-point land. But my God, is this dude incredible defensively. And it's funny because we always glamorized Matisse Thybulle defensively and deflecting passes and blocking shots. Melton does a lot of the same, and he's longer. He's probably half a step quicker. And then he's active on the boards. It doesn't stick out to people, but I remember when the game was about a 7 or 8 point game late in the third quarter or early on in the fourth, and you need stops at that point. And Phoenix misses, and my God, did this guard get up for a rebound. And he did it 2 possessions in a row. It's the little things that he's doing right now to create opportunities for the rest of the guys. And then obviously, like I mentioned, the minivan. George, you're never going to get that consistently, but 7 of 10 from deep, 21 points, tied his career high. Absolutely clutch and huge down the stretch for them in this win. So huge shout out to everybody, man. Tyrese Maxey didn't have a great game. You were without James Harden, obviously, and you found a way to beat the best team in the West by double digits. So pretty impressive, if you ask me.
And just on the Anthony Melton front, as far as like comparing him to Matisse Thybulle, it's a great comparison because it's everything that Matisse Thybulle should be striving to be. That is the best version of Matisse Thybulle is DeAnthony Melton, the guy that will attack the glass, a guy that. I mean, you know how good it is to see DeAnthony Melton not only strap up on the defensive end, but then come down. He can bring the ball up. He can dribble. He can attack the rim. Sometimes he doesn't finish. I get it. But he can make a move. You know what I mean?
Put the ball on the floor.
He can literally put the ball on the floor. Like, how incredible when you're dealing with a guy like Matisse Thybulle. So definitely somebody for him to model his game after, if nothing more, right? But,
I'm going to ask you a question that Matt McGinty, that Gint asked me on the Faithful Fanatic show Tuesday night.
Yeah.
What does he work on, Scotty? You want to talk about a player? You want to talk about a guy that is the exact same player today as from the first day he walked into the building? Nothing has changed. What has he gotten better at? What does he work on in the offseason? We all talked, the form was different. The shooting form was different. Still not shooting the ball well. He's still hesitant to shoot. We mocked, the putting the ball on the floor, but Scotty, I've watched this dude dribble the ball off his own knee on a fast break. Like, he can't put the ball on the floor. He can't finish around the rim or finish through contact. He quite frankly can't do a single positive thing offensively, and defensively, fantastic. He's great. Hit for 1 game out of 12 against Steph Curry here and there.
and mind you, we're saying all of this. Tonight is one of those games where he needs to kind of be involved and be in the game.
My question is, how much does Doc play him?
Yeah, that was one of my one of my keys to victory, quite honestly,
into it.
was giving Matisse Thybulle those minutes, just 15 plus maybe, right? Give him some time. If you want to use up some fouls, be annoying to Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, that type of thing. But it is funny that you bring up, what does this guy work on? I mean, you know what he seems like to me from somebody who I played basketball from a young age. He seems like a guy that picked up a basketball at a very late age. Mind you, Joel Embiid did too, but when you work on your game, 16. Yeah, you work on your game. This is what you can get, right? But I would have to ask the same question. I have no idea. We saw the one off-season video of him like doing like and it looked bad. Like it looked like he was beginning to train on handles. Like we are 3-4 years into his NBA career. It's time to get it going, man. And it doesn't look like it, right? Why is Doc said that he improved so much? He trained so hard this summer, and all preseason that was the talk. And he comes out the first couple games and he can't even get in the game.
It would show somewhere. Like
it would show
nothing in his game has progressed. Not the 3-point stroke, not the handle, not the playmaking ability, not the free throws, not finishing at the rim. Nothing has changed whatsoever.
Sad, man.
And he would be the perfect small forward, the perfect 3-and-D player for you if he could just shoot 37% and above. 35, I'll give you 35 pass. 36% is what I need. League average. Be right around league average, my man, and you would be perfect.
And
problem is he shoots under 30%.
He's someone that like he can't hide his lack of confidence. Like when he's like in a bad spot mentally, you will see it.
Have you ever seen him?
Face.
And I know it's ironic because it goes back to the pass dunk by Ben in Game 7. But have you seen this guy catch a pass around the rim?
And
nobody around him?
I swear it's because he
doesn't go straight up. He is. He does not go straight up. He looks around. And I'm not lying when I tell you I've seen him look around and then put up like a little bunny 1 foot from the rim and miss it. Like I've seen.
And if you're his teammate, like how much does that just like piss you off?
I don't know how this turned into the trashing Matisse Thybulle game,
I know.
But it's just to the point where I'm like, man.
It's one of those things where you see him excel on defense so heavily, so good on defense when he's locked in and he gets to play minutes, but he's a ghost on offense, man. Yep. And we've already gone through this shit. I think that's why. Like we've seen the lack of mental toughness. We've seen the awkwardness on offense, and it's ugly to see it rear its head again in Matisse Thybulle, man. And you thought in a contract year maybe he would come out and try to change his game, try to earn a better contract. Hasn't been the case, but we only harp on him because he does have that potential in the defensive end, right? We just aren't able to utilize it to its fullest extent right now, and that's what's frustrating.
Me and Gitten shared a laugh the other night when I brought up the fact that people literally wouldn't include him in the Harden trade.
Yeah,
look how far we've come in such a short amount of time. He was
I'd rather have Seth Curry right now,
bro. I said the exact same. Imagine how much better this team would be with Seth Curry's offense rather than the non-existent Matisse Thybulle who doesn't get minutes. And mind you, if he was fully vaccinated at that point in time, it probably could have worked.
Yeah.
Because while I know they had plenty of offense in Brooklyn, I'm sure they would have loved to have the younger, more athletic defensive specialist Matisse Thybulle, who everyone praises, over Seth Curry. So it's crazy to me, dude, how that whole thing played out and where we're at now. But anyway, let's dive more into this game. So you already mentioned how this is one of your keys to victory. Will Doc give him those minutes tonight? I want to ask you kind of another key of mine, because as crazy as this sounds, my position on this fan base and the obsession with B-ball Paul Reed, and how I like the bucket that Montrezl Harrell can be. But ultimately, Paul Reed has been the better backup so far this season. And I think a night like tonight, I honestly think against these heavy offensive teams, these quick guard teams, you're going to need length and athleticism and rim protection in those backup center minutes. So I ask you this because I think B-ball, like Paul Reed, is one of the keys to victory in terms of those backup minutes. You saw against Phoenix they actually extended the lead with him on the floor.
Yeah.
He was so active on defense and transition points, something I'm looking for tonight. Do you think it's a Paul Reed night? Do you think Doc goes back to Harrell? Has he made up his mind at all?
That's, it's one of those things because Paul Reed deserves all the praise from that game against Phoenix. He made a big difference off the bench, of course. The thing with Paul Reed is on any given night, he can get out of control. And I think that's kind of what you have to watch with him. Come out dumb fouls, like getting your team into foul trouble with how quick he picks up fouls. But if he can hone that in consistently, then we're talking about Paul Reed as a solid rotational piece. He has all the other stuff, right? It's just the really dumb stuff, like low basketball IQ stuff that he does from time to time. But if he can cut that out, kind of like he did against Phoenix on a consistent basis, I think he's younger, he's more athletic, he's quicker, he's more agile than Montrezl Harrell. And I hate to kind of diss Montrezl Harrell in that sense, but those just aren't his strong suits. And whenever you have Embiid go out, I feel like that's what you want to come in, is that energetic, grab boards, get hands in the passing lanes, get up in guys' face. Like, you want a disruptor whenever you take Embiid off the floor. And I think Paul Reed can be that. He's just got to hone it in consistently. Keep yourself under control. Don't speed up so much, right? That's been his biggest issue. But I like your point. I think it's a great time to throw him out there against Atlanta, like you said.
I think it's funny because one of the things Doc said in the postgame after Monday's win was how he spoke in the Paul and basically said, look, you're not going to be getting a ton of minutes. Like, you are the backup, so you have 6 fouls. Go and use them. You're not starter minutes. So while it's a good message, I think it kind of plays into the fact of what you just said and how he can get ahead of himself and out of control. And it's not using your fouls. It's how and when you use them.
Exactly.
And sometimes they're just bad fouls, man.
Like, you don't want to use
mental
your
mistakes.
6. You don't want to use your 6 fouls on all shooting fouls, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to make some of those fouls. Maybe it's loose ball fouls, going after rebounds, whatever the case may be.
Right.
We'll take those.
And if you're going to foul, not letting someone finish through the contact.
Exactly. Foul him if you're going to foul him.
Yeah.
Foul him. Right. That's my one. That's like my number one rule with fouling. If you are going to swipe, you think you're going to foul them to make sure they don't get the bucket. Make sure it's worth it.
So I want to look at the opposition tonight with you. The Hawks are 7-4. I believe they're coming off a big win, or they had a big win 2 games ago. Obviously, we know what their backcourt looks like. Trae Young, DeJounte Murray added in the offseason. DeAndre Hunter's back. John Collins, Clint Capella. We know about this team. Bogdanovich is out. Are they lacking depth? I'm looking at this roster of theirs. You got the Holiday brothers on the bench. You got Okongwu on the bench. I see Frank Kaminsky, Jalen Johnson. Like I said, Bogdan's out. What is that somewhere the Sixers should look to exploit tonight? Should they look to keep Embiid or Maxey on the floor at all times to attack some of these backups? What's your game plan here? Because I'm not going to lie to you, Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday, and Onyeka Okongwu does not strike fear into me in terms of the deeper teams in the East.
Onyeka, he's pretty solid as far as a backup center. I'm looking at the depth chart myself here. And so they got Jalen Johnson. So Justin Holiday actually comes in before Jalen Johnson as well. AJ Griffin. So the reason I'm looking at those guys, those are my Duke boys. Young, right? They're kind of young and inexperienced in a sense. What I will say is that this entire team seems to operate. Are you able to hear me? I see the Wi-Fi signal popping up.
No,
okay, I see it popping up on my side. It's interesting with the Atlanta Hawks, man, because they've kind of gotten rid of the Kevin Huerters, right? The Kevin Huerters of the world, those guys that we saw in the playoffs a few years ago. But they filled them in
Gallinari.
with high draft picks, though. Jalen Johnson, a first-round pick. AJ Griffin, a first-round pick. So it's interesting to see what those guys are playing like. What I will say about the Hawks, they're going to go as Trae Young, as DeJounte Murray go.
As the backcourt
I think they're going to stagger those guys. They'll start the game
so I
together,
guess,
and then
so
they'll
can
end up staggering them.
Can I throw a wrench in this then? I guess
absolutely.
to combine it with, exploiting the bench or the lack of depth goes with the fact that yeah, they're going to go as Trey and DeJounte go, but as long as you don't let both, as long as they're not going for 30 each or 30 and 28, or you know what I mean? As long as you limit one, are you in better shape because of their lack of depth potentially?
I do believe so, and the one that I feel is most important to limit, I would say, is Trey Young. I think he's the more important one to limit. Obviously, offensively,
I think he's the one that can
way
take
more
over
explosive.
a game more. Yeah,
exactly. And so if DeJounte Murray's killing you in scoring, I don't think you're necessarily going to lose that game per se. Whereas Trey Young can take over a game, drop 40 on you. But they averaged 17 and a half assists between the two of them. I think DeJounte's 8.1 assists per game, Trey Young 9.4. So 17 and a half assists just between those two guys shows me that they're getting in the lane, they're getting out to shooters, they're getting other guys buckets, which is why they're seventh in the league in total scoring as a team. It's hard to say what these teams are so early in the season. I will say that obviously they're 7-4. They have beaten the Bucks recently, so that's a huge win.
That's the win I was thinking of.
They have firepower, man. They can definitely win games, but they can also lose them. Trey Young's not shooting the ball very well. He's sitting at 37.8% from the field, 31.2% from the three-point line. So he's averaging 27 points. That means he's putting up a lot of shots, maybe getting to the free throw line a good bit. It's a team that the Sixers, I would say, man, if I started the season against the Hawks, right, and maybe even Harden's still out,
right,
I would say the Sixers should beat this Hawks team, right? They're a better team than this Hawks team. You are on the road, though. The Sixers have been inconsistent. So I don't want to sleep on the Hawks here. They have a ton of talent. They have a lot of scoring power. But I think where you can take advantage is our mismatches on the other side of the ball. I think our mismatches are greater than their mismatches in a sense.
For sure.
Who's going to outplay who? DeAndre Hunter? Tobias Harris. Who's going to win that matchup?
So,
John Collins, Tobias Harris, right? Whichever one you want to match them up with.
I'm glad you bring that up and you bring those two up specifically. And, you know, you can throw Clint in that equation as well. Yeah. My last key to the game, and this kind of plays into our goal of the game as well. But go back to that playoff series in 2020, right? Yeah. Or 2021. When, you know
I think I know where you're going with this.
And how they got exploited on the boards and the hustle, and John Collins was a problem, and here's where the new acquisitions come into play. That toughness, that PJ Tucker, DeAnthony Melton, if Harold gets any run, if Daniel House is back tonight, where is that toughness, crashing the boards, getting loose balls, outworking your opponent? This is a game I'm looking for something like that. On the road, you're in their house. You know they're going to bring energy tonight. Are you going to allow John Collins and DeAndre Hunter and Clint Capella to continue to bully you on the offensive glass?
PJ Tucker effect.
Or are you going to take it to them? Exactly that, the PJ Tucker effect. And PJ Tucker, while he's shown moments of getting to loose balls and here and there, he's I'm not going to lie, he's been underwhelming to start the year. And obviously the questions are going to start to flow about the age and everything like that. Yeah. I don't think it's that yet. But it's the PJ Tucker effect tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for the new acquisitions, that toughness to come into play tonight. That's my final key tonight. Be the tougher team. Be the aggressor tonight. And with that said, Scotty, let's get into our goal of the game. Yes, this one took some thinking from us. So to go in with that toughness and beating them on the glass and the loose boards and the hustle plays, it's also going to go into the defensive side of the ball and transition.
Yeah.
So take it. So you found Atlanta. I was going to say Houston for a second. My bad. Atlanta is one of the more efficient, one of the more effective teams offensively.
Yeah.
They play with the sixth best pace in all the NBA. What is our goal of the game?
The goal of the game tonight. Once again, these goals, we're not asking a lot from the Sixers in these. We're asking them to build winning tendencies towards winning. Setting these type of goals, I feel, builds that. We're asking them to hold the Hawks under 110 points. The Hawks average close to 118 points per game. They're 7th in the NBA in scoring as a unit. Sixers are 24th. They're down at 108 per game. So you need to bring them down to your level defensively, right? make them have to defend, keep them in the lower
Make them play to
100s,
your style.
under 110 points, right? Don't let them get up in the teens. That's when you know things are going the wrong way, right? So that would be the key. That's the goal of the game for us tonight. Hold the Atlanta Hawks under 110 points. And like you said, as far as the Atlanta Hawks being sixth in pace, slowing them down. That's what that all feeds into it, right? Slowing them down in transition. DeJounte Murray averages 2.3 steals. You got to be careful with the ball tonight. Limit turnovers. That feeds in to them getting out in transition, right? Sure. So got to limit turnovers. All feeds into holding them under 110
and the
points
hustle,
tonight,
man.
Slowing the game down.
The hustle, not only getting back on defense after misses and makes, but long rebounds.
Embiid was doing good at that the other night. Embiid was looking good at that. Yeah, sure.
So I guess that's kind of the key to the game. So we, like you said, we're doing these to try to continue to build consistency and winning tendencies. Yeah. And if you remember, I believe it was after a game that Maxey kind of popped off. We went with Maxey threes and 3-point attempts to kind of keep him in that rhythm. That's what we're doing here. They held the Suns to under 88. And am I asking you to hold the Hawks to under 100, under 95? No, I'm not.
Right.
You average 108. Bring them down to where you play, to where you're capable of putting up those kind of numbers. Like you said, you get into the teens. If this game gets to 119, 120, 125, the Sixers are not going to be on the right end of that matchup tonight.
No James
Keep
Harden.
the Hawks down under 110. And I think you have a very good chance to get a win on the road, get back to 500 basketball. And that's all you can ask after the slow start for them, Scotty. So with that said, let's get into our best bet of the night. As you guys know, we give you one best bet, whether that is a total, a line, a player prop, a same game parlay. We'll be doing them for each and every one of our Sixers pregame show throughout the year. But tonight, this one's going to fly under the radar because it's a guy you and I have not spoke of yet throughout the 27 minutes we've been live here. And this one was tricky because some of the props were a little iffy tonight, and you never know where to go when they're missing a starter in James Harden. Joel Embiid's back. How much does he dictate and run the offense tonight? This Tobias Harris, we talked about that John Collins, DeAndre Hunter matchup. He's going to play a big role in this game tonight. And you saw him getting off to a hot start the other night. Double figures in the first quarter. Joel feeding him the ball in the post, exploiting smaller guards and mismatches, going to work around the rim. Tobias Harris was phenomenal. He's shooting well from three this year. Tobias Harris over 16.5 points at plus 100 tonight. Yep. Every other prop, every other player points is minus something, minus 110, minus 130, minus 120. Tobias over 16.5, 17 plus points is at plus 100 tonight. That is our best bet of the game to give you some juice as well. Sure. Why do you feel like Tobias can get that tonight?
I feel like this is the good matchup for him, quite honestly. I think it's a matchup they can go to in this game. You can get switches in this game, maybe get a DeJounte, get a smaller guard.
Trae Young on him, yeah.
Exactly. You can get a smaller guard on him, and that's where he can go to work. And you saw that the other night. I think that's when you take Harden out of the equation. That's when you can get into more of that post work for Tobias, and that's his strong suit, quite honestly. When he's forced to be, he can be good in that, 3-point shooting stretch role. He can be good in that. He's shown that. He's shooting 44% from the three-point line this season. But when he's down in the post, that's where he works. That's where he feels comfortable. You can tell it. And Embiid's been finding him well and looking his way. And I think Embiid knows he's got to get these other guys involved. He can't do it all by himself, especially when you're thinking longevity for Embiid. So I think it would be good for him to pass some of that weight on to Tobias while Harden is out. And let's be honest, Tyrese Maxey is going to have his hands full with this back.
And he's not been shooting well, man.
He's not shooting the ball
No
well
James Harden. I love that point. You don't want to have Joel have to go out there and drop 35 plus tonight and have to do everything. Tyrese Maxey has struggled shooting. Now, you can predict that changes around tonight. It very well could. He could go for over 20 tonight. But with that trend, with the fact that Harden's out, Tobias, whether it's fair or not, is a max contract player. He is one of the leaders and veterans on this team. Show up tonight, man. You had that match. You had that playoff matchup. That's ingrained in a lot of people's minds. John Collins.
Yep.
Show up tonight, score. Now, obviously, if we miss the bet and Toby goes for 15 or 16 with 10, 11 rebounds.
Super annoying, but
a good night nonetheless. Yeah, I'm going to take the points, though. I think he can do it tonight.
Had 21 in his last game, right? 21. He went 3 for 7 from the 3-point line, 7 for 18 from the field. So he got shots the last game.
He cooled off
18
dramatically. He started off
Yeah.
incredibly hot, and then he cooled. I think he had like 12 points early
The
on
rest
in the
of the
second
game.
quarter. Yeah.
Early
And
on.
no, yeah, very early on. And then I think he slowed off after that. He missed a couple shots to start the second half. But nonetheless, let's get into our predictions and players of the game tonight. Basically stating how can the Sixers come away with a win tonight, Scotty? No James Harden. Who is your player of the game, and what is your prediction?
Yeah, I was leaning a couple different ways. Obviously, we just talked about Tobias Harris. I was leaning, DeAnthony Melton in a sense, defensive purposes, if he can disrupt what that backcourt has going on. But I'm ultimately going to lean on my guy Maxey once again. And I think the reason I say that is maybe it doesn't happen tonight. Maybe Maxey isn't the player of the game, but I don't think the Sixers can win without him playing at that type of level. Just because he has to hold Trae Young accountable. Somebody has to hold Trae Young accountable in the defensive end. That's something we harped about in that series in the playoffs a few years ago when we were playing against Trae Young. We had nobody to attack him on the other side, get him into foul trouble, make him have to think on the other end. I'm hoping maybe they throw DeJounte Murray on Maxey. That very well could happen. But I'm hoping at certain points in this game, Maxey can really put pressure on Trae Young, put pressure on these guards, get to the rack, start finishing some of these buckets. I'm going to go with Tyrese Maxey as the player of the game because we need him to be that in order for us to win this game on the road tonight. I have him at 23 points, get back up over that 20-point market, way more involved offensively. 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 for 5 from the field. That is my hope for this game. That is my hope for the player of the game as far as Tyrese Maxey tonight.
I love the pick because I think you're right. I think Tyrese Maxey has to step up, has to shoot better in the absence of James Harden if they want to be in this ball game tonight. But it all starts with one guy on the road tonight. It's the big fella, man. I have to do it tonight. And it's simply because you go back to that playoff matchup, even though they lost the series, he was the best player on the floor by far. He was the most dominant player on the floor by far. John Collins, Clint Capella, whoever they wanted to bring on the bench, they had no answer for him. If you remember, things got pretty chippy throughout that series, and the Hawks fans had some things to say. Philly fans had some things to say. Embiid and Capella had some things to say and tried to show each other up. So although it seems like a long time ago, it's not. You're on the road. And it doesn't even have to be totals tonight, Scotty. It's the energy we talked about from the beginning, especially on the road. You're not at home. You don't have, although the crowd's been a little underwhelming with other stuff going on in the city right now, you don't have the home Philly crowd behind you tonight. You need him to just be alive and active on the defensive side and get things into the offense. I think Embiid goes for 30 plus again. I really do. I know we were flirting with the idea of his point total or his points, assists, and rebounds total. That's another bet that we kind of like, but we went with Toby to be a little bit safer there. But I think Joel has like a 32 and 12 type of game tonight. Hopefully his conditioning, a couple days off, his conditioning is a little better. It'll be interesting to see. Does he have to sub himself out at the 7.5 minute mark again? Because he's got to catch his wind. I don't know. I'll trust him. I'll trust Doc to get that right tonight. But I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. All right. I can't pick the Sixers to win every night on the show.
Fair enough.
I'm going to go with a Sixers loss, and I hope I'm giving the reverse jinx here. They definitely can win the game. We just gave you all the ingredients for them to win the game. But they have this back-to-back with Atlanta. One's at home. They've struggled at home. I think they win on Saturday night. So I'm going to just say, trend-wise, they lose tonight in Atlanta. Panic button gets hit again. They come home. They beat Atlanta. So that's my prediction. Pray I'm wrong. I'll go with Atlanta. I'll say that the Sixers keep them right around our goal, but I'll say Atlanta gets to around 114, 115, and it's a little too much for the Sixers tonight. But if the Sixers can keep them under that 110, the Sixers will win. That's why it's the goal of the game.
Fair enough. I see what you mean, because just the stretch coming up. This one was tough for me. I'm going to go with my original prediction. I got the Sixers winning this game 113-105 on the road. I guess I guess I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm not trying to step out of my realm of reality though. Like, I'm
Right.
not trying to be totally biased homer for this team, but at some point they have to string together some wins in a row. So I'm looking at this Suns Hawks matchup, this row of games, and I think they need to win all of them. I think they need to get back above 500. I think it's important to build some consistency, some chemistry. And this could be a big win on the road against the Atlanta
100%.
7-4 Atlanta Hawks. Think they come out with the energy tonight. I'm going 113-105 Sixers W on the road, and I'm hoping they can continue that on into Saturday they play again?
Yep.
Believe so. And then Sunday they
Yeah.
play the Jazz. So these are some tougher competition, quite honestly. The Jazz are like 10-3 right now, I believe. So you got some tough
Jazz
teams
can't even
coming up.
tank correctly.
They can't even tank, right? God, that's a whole other subject, man. But the Sixers need to build some chemistry. If they lose this one, I'm going to be a little disheartened, quite honestly. But I'm with you on the reasoning. I get it. I guess I think it's kind of now or never. But I said this the last time when they were going into that series against the Wizards, the back-to-back games, and then they had the Knicks on Friday. I thought they needed to get ahead in that. But obviously Harden went down. I'm hoping they can build some chemistry tonight, get on the right direction once again, and turn this thing around. Get back to 500, and then we can talk about getting a winning record in the next one, right?
I love it, man. And listen, I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong on this one. I can't pick them 82 games out of the year.
Yeah, that's fair enough, man.
Then it's no analysis. It's just all. I hope the Sixers win tonight. So we'll see how we feel over the weekend and into next week. Guys, thank you for everyone who watched live and everyone who's going to watch this replay on DSM Media's YouTube channel. Head on over on the Twitter account at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. Check out the link tree in our bio to take you to every platform we are available on. Check out our pinned tweet. We still are running our giveaway over on the DSM YouTube channel. All you got to do, subscribe. Comment hashtag DSM on the pinned video, and it'll get yourself entered once we hit one of those tiers throughout the month, hopefully. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM Media, have a great rest of your night.
Go Sixers.
And Philadelphia has it.